Hello there, and what's up, Reaction Faction? It's Deadpool. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and follow me on Patreon. So, this week, I'll be reacting to a trailer for a movie which I honestly thought came out like a year ago. We also have a guest reactor this week, Korg, who was not my first choice, but apparently everyone else was too busy over on Disney+. Let's take a look.
My name is Guy.
Oh, he's named Guy, like the movie's title.
That's pretty clever.
But there is one name you may know me by.
Let's just pause for a second to let everyone comment first, or this trailer gives away too much. All done?
Would you like to fuck me?
Oh!
Bingo.
Well, then let's see what you've got.
Which is super insulting, by the way.
There is a house in New Orleans. They call
We call that bridging.
For the next Tony Stark, I trust you. Say Edith.
It's about your glasses.
Stand by for retinol and biometric.
So, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and talk about specifically why I'm doing a podcast.
Oh, his face is so punchable. You know what? I'm gonna give it. I'll give it 4 out of 5 avocados. Korg?
I was raised by avocados.
Oh my God! Just kill me now.
This Organized Chaos podcast is brought to you by JEMS Art Studio. JEMS Art Studio is an online store that allows access to prints that you can use for most anything, obviously as just a picture, or as a wallpaper, or as a bookmark, or anything you can think of. You can find JEMS Art Studio at etsy.com/shop/JEMS Art Studio. This podcast is also brought to you by listeners like you. Thank you. All right, so now we might actually talk about some actual great art.
Yes.
This is going to be Bobby Quarters. He's going to talk about House of the Rising Sun.
Yes.
Let me go ahead and bring this up. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of follow your lead. I don't know when you want me to bring up stuff.
The images that are labeled like persons and all that.
Okay.
You could throw them up as I bring them up or mention them.
I'm not going to lie.
And,
There was actually one that I wasn't able to properly download, so I don't know what you named it. So I just titled it Dude.
guy sitting at a radio desk.
Yeah, actually, I can pop it up once it fully loads here. Flag is fun. Let's see, is it up? Okay, here we go. Dude. Who's that? Who's Dude?
Oh, that's Alan Lomax.
Okay. All right,
Hey,
so...
Young Alan Lomax.
Were they in order? Because I did number them.
They were kind of just in the random order I downloaded them in.
Okay.
They could fix it.
And I also have the song queued up on here. Well, the most famous version of the song. But yes.
I will... About a paragraph in is where I will say we should play that one.
Okay. All right. You can just let me know. We've already been discussing background stuff live on stream, so we're good.
Yeah.
We've set the bar at low. We're good.
So, the House of the Rising Sun. It is a traditional folk song, sometimes referred to or called Rising Sun Blues. It tells a story of a person's life gone wrong in the city of New Orleans. Many different versions of it urge a sibling or a parent to avoid the same fate. Now, what is it about this song that makes it worth talking about? Well, what do you think it's about, Bob?
I don't know. I've never actually thought. I know the most famous version, and I will get to it. I like the tone of it, though. But as far as what it's about, I have to go over it in my head. Why don't you tell me? I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, some people will interpret it as like a gambling house, you know, like a place of that, like, or something like a bar, or a brothel, or a prison. It's throughout all the different versions and covers throughout this song's rich history. it still has one common theme, and it's the House of the Rising Sun. And that house is what it does represent is just like the sin in this world, and vice, a place for both of that, and a place where someone can go to get it.
Oh.
And it's a doomed life and a fate.
That is intriguing.
Yeah. Now, this song also, it has like a long history, and some musicologists have dated it back to the 16th century, which a lot of those came from, early American settlers, people who would come over and, settle in their areas, and they would play folk songs with each other and their families, and they were songs that their families would play. Those would later be songs that people would be traveling musicians. They would come travel on a journey, maybe find a new home or something. They'd be traveling. They'd hear these songs and they'd remember them, and they'd go to the next town and play them and kind of add some more to them. Like a lot of these early American folk songs all started this way. And this is really fascinating. And I could go on about early American folk music, but we're talking about one song in particular. Now, this came up, and really a lot of it, whenever you mention it, you say, oh, we're House of the Rising Sun. Everybody thinks about the Animals version that they released.
You mean this guy?
Yes. Now, what's funny about this is this was only recorded 9 days after they premiered it, this version of it.
Nice.
9 days after they played it live. They were opening for Chuck. They were opening for Chuck Berry.
So wait, they actually did that live? That wasn't like a studio track before it was live?
No, they worked on it and worked a version of that song, like their own take on it. And they premiered it live, like their version of it.
Mm-hmm.
They premiered it like, hey, here's our new song called House of the Rising Sun. And they played it, but by that point in American culture, and especially with folk and like 60s popular music at that time, it had kind of become a standard by that point.
Yeah. Well.
Like it had been a song that had been moved up. And
there is a house.
Oh gosh.
Anyways, I just wanted to show that. Let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and bring that up real fast. But something I was really impressed with was this is way before music videos with that video. Yet they have this.
Oh yeah, that was like sometimes like
okay, I'm trying to cue it up
there'd
again.
be promotional videos. There'd be like promotional videos of what the record companies would put out, and they would just kind of film the band performing it in a television studio, having fun. Or sometimes these would be on like your Ed Sullivan's or talk shows of that variety, like how they even have music guests on talk shows like that today. It's very similar, but the production value back then was just way better than now. Because that video is just remarkable.
In New Orleans.
There we go. Let's see if I can get
the rising sun.
Oh my god. Okay, no technical errors. Yeah, but I mean, that's from the 60s, and there's music videos that are much, much newer than that don't have nearly that quality.
No. Now, this song, it does date back to, like I said, a lot of traveling musicians, but they would pick it up because they would often get a lot of work as they're on the road doing it from, like, traveling snake oil salesmen or medicine shows that would have music to drum up a little bit of business,
Mm-hmm.
The earliest version of this song was written in 1925, and the song was just called Rising Sun, or Rising Sun Blues.
Okay.
It was written from the viewpoint of a woman. Now, 8 years later, a musician by the name, he was another traveling musician, a musician by the name of Clarence Tom Ashley, he recorded a version, which is the oldest version known to this day.
Ooh.
Now, years later, when he was asked about this, he had said, like, he had got the song from his grandparents, and it's one of those songs that's, too old to talk about. Like a lot of folk songs, House of the Rising Sun is very uncertain of its authorship. Musicologists have said it is a tradition of broadside ballads, and thematically it has some resemblance to a 16th century song called "The Unfortunate Rake," which is pretty much a person living a life of sin. The folk song collector and fucking hero Alan Lomax suggested that the melody might be related to another folk song called Matty Groves. I had a hard time finding a decent English translation of this one, so I couldn't tell you what this one was about. But that song dates back to 1613. Now, Lomax was a musicologist, and yeah, he had made his life. He had spent a long time of his professional life going around the country and recording people out of the trunk of his car, recording American folk music all over this country for the National Archive of American Folk Songs in the National Library of Congress. So all that's there and available. And I believe it's up streaming now, too, on the Archive's website.
Nice.
So you could find all of this great old music. Like, to me, that's just freaking awesome. What a age to be alive.
Yeah.
Now because Lomax did this and recorded this, people like, now I'm going to start mentioning names that you might recognize. Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger started hearing songs like this. They started performing them and recording their own versions of it. Now, with that, we're hearing more people playing their own version of it. And around the same time, 12-string virtuoso Leadbelly, he recorded the version twice. Once with it by himself and the other with his wife, who she sang it from the perspective of a woman. Am I going too fast?
No, you're fine. I'm going too slow, really. Now,
in 1962, Nina Simone covered it on a live album, and she had a very slower, bluesier version of it. Now, in 1967, however, she did, on that album, Nina Simone Sings the Blues, her take on it was very much what that sound of Greenwich Village was at that time in the 60s of New York. And same time, Joan Baez did another slow cover of it. And around this time, the age-old folk master himself, the luscious Bobby Dylan, did his own version of it. Now, his song was a kind of a take off of an arrangement a friend of his had done. His friend by the name of James Van Ronk had kind of came up with this chord progression for it, and he would play it in like a interesting finger-picking style, which Dylan incorporated into his version of it. And with Dylan's version, that soared on the charts. People heard that one, and it made it all the way across the pond to the UK, where the Animals got wind of it, and they had heard it. So the Animals, they wanted to do the same thing of what Dylan was doing, because that was just blowing their mind at that time, as what Dylan was doing for a lot of people who would go on to create music from the late 60s into the 70s. Dylan was blowing their mind. They decided to do the same thing, but let's play it electric. So they do the same intro as Dylan, put on the electric guitar, and you get that haunting opening of the song, where it pulls you into this dark and mysterious place. Musically, that is. Now, Dylan did say when he heard their version of it, he pulled his car over to the side of the road, got out, and started slamming his hands on the hood because he was just so blown away. And it was one of the things that helped him decide, maybe I should play electric.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, interject real fast.
Go ahead.
I kind of love the Animals version. It's a great song, but there's it's definitely an older song, but there's also kind of, I almost feel like a timeless quality to it. It just kind of it works insanely well. I'm not even really familiar with the Animals, but that song, it sticks with you. It is insanely good. I almost feel like it has kind of almost a haunting quality, if that makes sense. But yes.
No, it absolutely does, and I feel that when you kind of, like, when I dug into this song a bit more, it really added to the quality a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Like, actually, on my way home today from work, this was playing on the radio.
Yes.
And I absolutely just listened to it the whole way through because it's a great song. And, man, that organ is just chilling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ugh. But the thing that, like, you know, so again, you know, what do you think this song could be about? I feel it depends on whomever the perspective is of singing the song. Because both men and women have sang it and sang it from both perspectives. Now, Dylan, however, he's saying it from the female's perspective, which I thought very interesting choice on his end. But, you know, whether it is, you know, whatever it could be about or whoever is singing it, I think one main theme of it will still remain, whether it be a gambling den, a pub, a brothel, or a prison. I think it's a cautionary tale of vice and sin. And when a person's at their weakest and worst place for them, the house of the rising sun will always be down in New Orleans. And that's what I got.
You see, I didn't know that much about this song.
Yeah. I mean, the funner things I found about it, like the James Van Ronk fella, he would swear up and down that the song that he had heard, because he had remember seeing a photo of a woman sitting by a big old like factory window, or near a giant old factory building that said House of the Rising Sun Women's Penitentiary. And a lot of the stuff in the themes, I can see it kind of being about a prison too. But
yeah,
I can also
definitely.
see it being about a brothel. All of it. It all really just, it makes sense. But yeah, it's a fascinating tune.
Yeah, well, I know obviously they use it in the
Casino.
Crap, the movie.
Casino.
The movie we just watched. Suicide Squad. Squad
did.
2016, they make sure to drop that in there because they will do anything they can for... they really forced anything they could in there. Yeah. But, yeah, it's a great song. Oh, there it is.
Yes.
Give me a second. I'm just posting this to YouTube, which I meant to do a while ago.
Good.
But yes, this is... Honestly, I thought this was really interesting. I didn't know anything about this. If you had asked me about this, honestly, just a couple days ago, you told me House of the Rising Sun, I would have told you, oh, that was a song by the Animals from the 60s. I didn't know there was a history to it beyond that point.
And I probably would have said, well, yes, you're kind of right. But yes, I was so fascinated about this, and I gotta like give a little credit to where a lot of my research came from. Obviously Wikipedia and watching a lot of interviews for it, but there's a guy who's also on YouTube who covers individual pieces on music and even artists, and he even does kind of a dive into their catalog. Channel Polyphonic. I got to thank him for giving me a good timeline to follow and path not to fall into a rabbit hole.
Well, rabbit holes can be fun.
They can be. Like, I dug into Alan Lomax and I found that website. I wish I would have sent you a link to it as well, but you can get lost in that archive.
Well, there's... I know we're probably diving into something offshooting here, but I couldn't help but notice that one picture you sent me. Oh, okay, it's already clear. So let's bring this up. The Leadbelly picture.
Yes.
Is that blackface?
No.
No.
Nope.
Oh, it must just be...
was a black man.
Okay, that must just be the color.
It was old photograph.
Oh, I see. It's black and white. You see, I'm finding racism where there is none.
He was a guy from 32, I believe, and actually, you know the Nirvana Unplugged set?
I know of it. I've listened to a little bit of it.
There's a song on there called "Where Did You Sleep Last Night?"
Mm-hmm.
That is a Leadbelly song.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His is way chiller. Like, not chiller, but like it haunting, chilling. And also, Leadbelly was listed as one of Kurt's favorite musicians.
Really? I didn't.
Yeah, I believe there's like a deleted scene in that where he talked about some guys trying to sell me Leadbelly's guitar.
Nice. No.
I mean, I'd buy it. I wouldn't play it, but I'd buy it.
I want to go ahead and add some audio credits at the end here. The theme music you're hearing at the beginning and end of this podcast was written and performed by George Johnson, a very good friend of mine. And my current Patreons are Fel Martins, David Lara, and Lindsay Pankhurst. If you'd like to become a patron, go ahead and follow the link down below. Anything you can provide would be incredibly helpful to this channel. We're barely limping by right now. I'd love to make this my full-time job. I'm miles away from that right now, so any help you could provide, just $1 a month would be amazing. You know you want to. All your friends are doing it.